Welcome back. Before we get into Chapter 2 of Deltarune Yellow, I just gotta say something really quick. Thank you. At the time of writing this, the Chapter 1 video is currently sitting at 5.8k views and 293 likes. As of me recording this right now, it has increased exponentially. You have no idea how much this means to me. It's so nice to know that my voice can be heard out there in the infinite space of negativity and conflict. My voice, writing a fanfiction of a fanfiction based on Undertale, can be heard by this many people. It's a heartwarming feeling that's incredibly hard to describe. Thank you all. This means so much to me. With that aside, I am, once again, going to credit cherryistired for several characters and plot concepts. If you haven't already, go watch their video first before watching mine. The links are, once again, in the description. Also, if you're just now being recommended this and have not seen the prior chapter, please go watch that video first as well. I also want to make something clear regarding this adaptation of this concept. Although I am using characters and some plot concepts by cherryistired, I'm not going to tether myself to their lore entirely. From what I am aware, they seem to now be doing their own variation of this concept as well, using their characters and concepts, which I would recommend going to see once it's finished. So what I'm trying to say is, rather than this being an adaptation of their lore, this is more of a reinterpretation, and I will still be paying my respects to the source materials, as well as crediting cherryistired for the original concept for as long as this series will continue. I just wanted to make that clear. Now then, with all that aside, let's get right back into it, shall we? We open to the sight of Martlet in the kitchen, on the landline phone with someone. Rowan then walks down from the stairway as Martlet hangs up the phone. We can now once again walk around the Ketsukane house. Not much has changed aside from the bottles being removed from the kitchen counter, and Axis having some new dialogue. While searching around, you can also find Chujin's suitcase. Opening it, finding and talking to Ceroba, Axis glares at Kaneko before rolling away. Kaneko quickly runs up and gives Weifel a hug, much to the dismay of Weifel. From there, they make their way over to the east gateway. The metal doors will open and a bright light will shine through it. Jumping into it sends the two back into the abandoned bedroom. After picking up as much as they can, they jump back into the dark doorway. And with that bright light, everyone from the previous chapters you had spared has been brought to the Dark World. With the exception of the Sentinels if you had picked up that 20G on the ground in the last chapter. The two follow Weifel into the tower and up the elevator. After a few quiet seconds, Weifel returns from the northmost room. Weifel dashes back into the northmost room. He then once again comes back down from the northmost room. three leave the house and make their way to the library. After finagling with the door for a few seconds, Ceroba opens it. Inside, it's pitch black, and a familiar dark aura pours out from the door. Ceroba pauses, looking into the darkness. Ceroba begins to take a few steps towards the door. Ceroba screams as she plummets into the darkness. As the world fades back in, we can see that the environment is a dense green forest with polygonal flowers and almost ancient pillars with structures that are becoming overgrown with vines. Ceroba lies face down on the ground. Ceroba struggles to get up, her outfit now changed as well. Ceroba gets up and dashes north. Kamiko bolts after her, and Rowan follows suit. Chasing after them, we run through a few rooms, dodging projectiles shot out from the polyflowers. Eventually, we reach a cliff that views out to the entire Dark World. Two massive structures are stacked across from one another, met in the middle by a tree that's connected by two bridges. Under the rightmost bridge, a river is flowing. Behind the two monolithic structures, a massive barren tree dwarfs all of it. Emanating from it is the Dark Fountain. They turn to see a pompous metallic figure hovering behind them off of the cliff edge on some kind of hovercraft. Waffle gets ready to attack, but is swiftly taken out by the figure. Kamiko tries to run to Waffle, but an electric gate drops from the sky, blocking the remaining three. Suddenly, a large robotic, mouse-like snake machine drops down from the sky. Suddenly, the large machine dashes over and grabs Ceroba with one of its robotic hands. Konako fires a magic beam at the mouse, but Admin quickly rushes over and deflects it. In retaliation, Admin fires an energy beam at Konako. Rowan tries to block it for her, but the beam splits in two and hits both of them, knocking them to the ground. Admin and Mouse leave with Cyroba in their grasp, and the electric barriers explode, allowing Waifu to regroup with Konako and Rowan. And with that, the next Dark World journey begins. It's break time once again, folks. I want to go ahead and say that I'm going to be doing things quite differently compared to the last video. Rather than going over each major area right now, I'll instead go over each major area as they come up. That way, I can handle this video in more of a narrative style, rather than whatever the heck I was doing last time. Okay, I know this break was much shorter than last time, so sorry, you might not have been able to get a snack this time. Sorry. Well, either way, let's just get back into it. We now enter the untamed woodlands, an area completely overgrown by vegetation. But what little signs of civilization remain are similar structures to that which you could see on the way into the area. As well to it, there's also some colored stones and blocks, each with some strange runes on them. Some enemies you'll encounter while in this area are the Booksmarks, the Brick Rock, and Rubba. After solving some puzzles and listening to the absolute jam of a song this area would obviously have, you arrive at a stone gatehouse with a few metal scraps around the wall. A small window in the gatehouse has a pink worm darkener reading a book. The worm looks at them, unfazed by the situation. The window closes, and a voice plays over the PA system. Suddenly, the roof of the station opens and a massive mech piloted by the worm jumps out. Oh boy, here comes my boy Worm! This fight is a fun one. Worm's mech suit is practically impenetrable. It can be beaten down, but it takes a while. The best way to take him on is to utilize his own attacks against him. He will occasionally throw some electricity balls at you that will lock onto your position, but after a while stop tracking you. They will then move at the last angle it tracked you at. Sending these energy balls back to Worm will drain his battery and eventually shut down his mech, winning the battle. The machine whirs, and Worm is sprung out of the machine and is sent flying into the distance as his battle suit explodes. The metal gates then open to allow the heroes to proceed. From here, we now enter the Fiction Complex. This area is a vertical stone city with vegetation growing neatly, and walls decorated with colorful imagery of sunny skies, beautiful castles, and other fairy tale or fictional imagery, although they seem to be wearing away with time. You traverse this area by hopping onto wooden elevators and contraptions that take you more and more up the complex. Most of the NPCs here are very content and joyful, saying things such as, or, Of course, there's always the odd one out. You can find a lone NPC in the back alley of some building. Talking to them, some of the enemies in the area are the Valolance, Donzel, Advers, and the Pessimistifier. Eventually, the heroes reach the peak of the complex and pass over a wooden bridge. Below them, a massive drop. Heading into the smaller tree, we arrive at a sort of lounge for people from both complexes to meet up and chat and plan visits to the other, and eat some food. This is also where you'll find the owner of this chapter's hip shop. The shop itself is run by a teddy bear darkener named Boof, who has a distaste for children and admin. Trying to head east, Weifel says, Heading north, we reach another bridge, leading into the greater tree. After walking halfway across it, we are met with Ceroba. She turns to face the three and sends a magic beam towards them. They dodge narrowly. Her face now has a robotic attachment to it. Konako lashes out and fires a beam of her own at Admin, but the mouse unit jumps in to block it. But as they attempt this, Rowan fires a bullet at the mouse unit, causing it to lower its guard and get hit by Konako's beam, severely damaging it. This fight is all about strategy. Cyroba's attacks are fast and hard-hitting, but in the act menu, you can use Safe Shot, an action where Rowan uses their gun to aim at various loose points on the mask Ceroba is wearing. But be careful, missing a shot makes Ceroba take damage. You can also use Wake Up Call, which also uses Konako's turn and increases the radius of these loose points, while also lowering Ceroba's attack and speed. You can also use Blind, which uses Weifel's turn and will temporarily blind Ceroba, increasing her attack and speed, but lowering her defense, but also, once again, increases the radius of the loose points. The fight ends whenever all loose points are knocked off and the mask is removed, but it can also be beaten by making Ceroba take enough damage. At that point, Konako will walk over to her kneeling mother and pull off the mask. However, this action is necessary for this chapter's weird route, which I will not be going over yet. Instead, we'll continue to follow the route where you knock off all the loose points. Admin descends from the screen and begins a monologue. Admin snaps his fingers, and two large energy bolts come down from the top of the screen and cut the bridge at both ends. Just before the party can fall, Rowan shoots a bullet at the hovercraft that Admin is on, knocking them off. As the casts fall, Admin puts a hand to his ear. Suddenly, the mouse unit returns and grabs Konako. The mouse unit then dashes off with Konako in its grasp. As he says this, he pulls off his hat. A tiny parachute comes out. As we fade back in, we can see Rowan washed up on the shoreline of a river in the deeper parts of the forest. gets up and Weifel lines up behind them. We begin to walk through the deeper parts of the jungle before eventually reaching a cave entrance. The two move away as Rowan walks into the cave. In the darkness, they find a silver, glowing star.